everyone, it's Nikki Batgirl D'Angelo here for episode 12 of Star Citizen's Addicts Anonymous. It's been what feels like a decade since I stood here. I've been sick, I've been working the holiday schedule like a dog, and pretty much laying in bed, miserable, playing games like Starbound and a couple of other ones that you've seen some videos about. One of my favorite, Freelancer. Also, I have Starlancer coming out, and I've done a couple, maybe 3, Kerbal Space Program, one of my favorite games. But I'm back here for what is going to be my favorite all-time game, I know, Star Citizen. So what has happened in the last couple of weeks? This one is going to be a biggie that I'm going to try to condense down, alright? So while I was away, it snowed in Georgia. Well, that wasn't while I was away, that was today. The whole state shut down. In fact, tomorrow, there's no school because it's going to be too cold, which is kind of strange for someone that comes from New York. I wonder if this is some kind of vandal sneak attack. Well, who knows. We had the DFM, the Dogfighting Module, live stream with Chris Roberts and all the people over in Santa Monica that are working on it. I think that's where they are, somewhere in the LA area. And we really saw why it was delayed. Although it is well along in progress, there was some rubber banding and server crashes and other little things that need to be tweaked. Now you're trying to merge 2 things into this one game. You're trying to merge this CryEngine that's really a first-person shooter and made for much smaller, maybe, I think, much smaller numbers of people fighting at once, into this huge, massively multiplayer online role-playing game type of connected service. So they've got a challenge there, a big challenge. But the dogfighting module looked so cool, it made me want to go out and do dogfighting. So as per a suggestion from one of my watchers, my viewers, I downloaded IL-2 in the Steam sale and learned very quickly that I'm very much out of practice and need to break out my old throttle stick and pedals to do that because my Logitech Extreme joystick just didn't cut it. Anyway, so let's go back to Star Citizen. So they're going to be working on this. In fact, in one of the letters that Chris Roberts put out that we'll talk about later, he talked about having, flying out to Manchester and Austin and then having a big meeting with all the parties involved with the dogfighting module and other pieces of Star Citizen all together in one place to talk about what they're going to be doing for the next year. In fact, in the New Year's wish, they told us that there's so much coming. Well, we haven't seen anything yet, is essentially what they said. So I want to get into the next pieces, which are, there was something out there, and it was, they started releasing elements of the jump points to everybody, little bit by bit. But in the last month, a lot of them have come at us in the form of Galactic Guides and works in progress. The Cutlass, the Avenger, and the, well, I would say the Hangar Module, the Freelancer, and the Cutlass, all of which, one was old and the last 2 were rather recent. So even though we as subscribers get these as part of a big magazine, you all are starting to see what we do, and you see how much work goes into developing these ships, which leads me to this. I'm jumping around here because I want to save the big things for later, but this one is big. Sandy had interviews with 3 more of the judges. We did one in one of the previous episodes. In this one, we're going to talk about Sean Tracy, Chris Olivia, and Chris Smith. Now I want you to go out there. I'm going to try to do annotations this time, so please don't make fun of me if I get them wrong. I'm trying to make these more interactive, these videos. But please go out there and watch these. They do a really good job at putting the production together at CIG, or I should say filming these. And Sandy doesn't ask foo-foo questions. She asks questions that really get down about what these judges are going to be looking for. So this is all for the next great Starship contest, which will begin on the 31st of January and run for 12 weeks. There's over 100 contestants at this point, or teams that have entered. And that's a lot of people to go through rather quickly for these judges. These 4 individuals that are responsible for making a lot of the in-game assets right now are also going to be taking on this new task. So when they start to air the next great starship, I want to make sure that all of you, especially those that are going to be part of my organization, are watching, because they are doing this to involve us in this game, and I think it's going to be wonderful. Sandy also got us a little bit of a pre-Christmas gift, 2 of them. We now have gift certificates. And also the ability to buy, the opportunity, I should say, to buy this. The Drake Interplanetary Redacted Hoodie. Aren't they gorgeous? So, look at Chris. I mean, he's loving wearing this thing, right? So if you like these, you need to go out there and purchase them before they're out, because they've already been out for the Christmas season, and it's already January 5th. I know I've been late. Or maybe is it the 6th? Oh, it's Auburn University's winning the championship, I hope, day. I only say that because my niece is here today and she goes to Auburn. So we also had a couple of log builders. If I rub my nose, I'm still a tiny bit sick. And the log builders got into things not just about State Ball this time, but about things like numbering squadrons. So I'm just going to talk about this piece real quick. So I was in the military, and I was in a group that didn't have a squadron. I was on the LPH-7, which was a Gator carrier. We had 1 helicopter that the Navy owned on board, and it was a Huey, an old one, like looked like it was in Vietnam and shut up. But it was in there, and essentially throughout my little stint in the Navy, I got to work on some F-14s for a group called VF-101. And there was and they were the Grim Reapers. They're a RAG group, Replacement Air Group. So if somebody died or got disabled out in the field, an aircraft and a pilot from this group would go out there. There's VF-101 on the East Coast, and I think there's VF-102 on the West Coast. And they're pretty much, like I said, Replacement Air Group. And the V stands for fixed-wing aircraft, and the F stands for fighter, so I know that, and then it's the 101st. Well, they said, here we already have Squadron 42. And Squadron 42 is going to be the name of the game, so it's going to be stuck in our heads that the squadrons are going to be set up kind of like the RAF back in World War II. Squadron 42, Squadron this, Squadron that, all of these with numbers in it. So David Haddock, who's actually building the lore of the universe little by little with these weekly little drops of news items and lore builders, is trying to get us to start thinking about where we want to go with this. So he's made just some suggestions, like the phonetics of Alpha being fighter or attack and Bravo being bomber, and Safari keeps crashing on my iPad, so I'm missing this out. But you get the idea. This is where he's at right now. So he's asking for input, but also putting this out to us as he's coming up with it, and probably getting a lot of input from Chris and the rest of the team at CIG. So I know I talk about these lore things, and I'm really into the lore. When I play games like WoW and Guild Wars and Lotro, I really read almost every little bit of every quest I do. So when those guys are writing the quest, they're really doing it for me. So David, I'm watching you, and I'm trying to follow along, and I watch your thread and post there occasionally. Like I begged you, please, if this is going to be like a futuristic Earth-based empire, I've asked him that, there's certain ship names that have always been in US or British or other navies, like the Enterprise in the US Navy, and there's quite a number of them in the British Navy. So I've asked him to look at that when he's coming up with the ship names of the Bengal-class carriers, and make sure that he incorporates some of the names that are in today's US and Navy and other navies around the world. Alright, so what we're going to move on to right now is Hangar Patch 10. I did a long video and a long run through Hangar Patch 10. Here it is running in the background. And I want all of you to click on the button up there and go out there and watch it if you haven't watched it already. It is a really big thing that the Cutlass is out now. And I predicted it when the prior month the Cutlass was actually going to be in the work in progress. Of course, we had Freelancer, Cutlass, and then Avenger, all three in a row. And so far, the Freelancer is the one that hasn't been updated, but the other two have been released and updated. And I did a quick little run through Xfade's. Thank you, Xfade, personally. I think that was wonderful that you let me borrow your ship. I did a quick run through his Cutlass and kind of fell for it. I'm not the pirate type. I think I'd be more the nanny type, like go out and pick up the people that get shot down. So I think we're going to be able to use this spaceship to do that. It was listed as a search and rescue ship. So if I do have that opportunity, I'm going to buy one to do that. But I liked doing the last episode. I got to see changes in it, like the additions to the fish tank with the jellyfish and the ribbon fish and a couple of other things like the crab. And also, there's now a footlocker that's sitting off to the side that has boots and handgun and stuff in it. I think that's more or less in the future going to turn into like a place to store your personal weapons, like a laser rifle, laser pistol, items like that. But I didn't read into what that was about yet. And of course, we also had Christmas wreaths and that wonderful little gun station that's over there, you know, where you get to sit down and shoot a weapon that makes no noise. I was kind of not disappointed with, I was a little disappointed with it. I thought it was a great thing for them to give us to try out, but just a few things missing. And of course, other things were missing on the ship. Like, somebody stole the P-52 out of my Constellation, and the turret was lifted out of my, I think the Grinch came and stole Christmas from my hangar. I'm just kidding. Just trying to make y'all laugh, okay? It's been a long time. We're going to move on to the next item. Like I said, there's a lot here, and I'm mixing them up and throwing them at you in different ways, saving a couple of the big ones for last. Foundry 42 went live. Aaron is out there hiring a boatload of people, and we are now starting to see some movies come from them, updating us on what they're doing. And of course, Foundry 42 can't give us all the updates that they would necessarily be asked for, because, any update they give us is going to ruin the storyline of the game for us, and I honestly don't want to know the ending of that game before I start it, So I'm glad that they're holding back. But they have a contest going, and you could win some of these wonderful items over here. You could win a jacket, you can win the model and original box, I guess it is, Privateer 2 The Darkening, which is a product that was, a program that was released by Aaron Roberts after Chris left Origin. It was actually pretty fun. I played it and enjoyed it. And of course some Starship models and Starlancer box and some other pictures and items that came in those prizes. I think this is wonderful. I guess they cleared out their old building and found these things and decided to give them back to the community, since the community is putting in so much to this game, which we'll talk about at the end. Thank you, Aaron. I appreciate it. And, wink wink, if you could fold a little corner of my entry. Just kidding. All right, so I'm jumping all around, missing things and jumping on things and trying to get through this just to give you an idea of how much information there was. This could be a 2-hour video if I go deep into everything. So I'm touching on the surface of everything, and I'm going to be providing links to the things that I don't have time to talk about, like the Seda Ball in the Lore Builders. So we also had two funding goals reached, and they were the 35 and 36 million. And it took a little bit longer to get here. Of course, people were buying Christmas presents, and when the hoodies went up there and more patches showed up and the newer mouse pads, which, Sandy, I still haven't got my mouse pad, were added. They actually saw a little bit of an increase, an uptick in the number of pledges. But what I did notice is that there were a far number of people that have gotten alpha slots since then, and that means that we're still growing as a community. So I hope that I have some new people that are out there watching this today. So what did we do with the 2 goals that we hit? Well, at $35 million, we have already talked about this one, the Drake Herald, Knowledge is Power. That's the information runner, and that was actually unlocked, and they can now start work on that. At the same time, at the $36 million, we unlocked the TAMSA system, which is located near the fringe of boundary space. TAMSA system features a massive central star that has collapsed into a black hole. Evidence suggests that there were at least 2 more planets in the system when the star collapsed before the ensuing black hole engulfed them. Only 2 planets remain in the system, a Chilothian world and a gas giant located far from the black hole's event horizon. Initial surveys indicate, however, that the 2 outer planets are slowly being pulled towards the black hole, leaving the 2 risky as propositions at best for any colonization. But I'm sure we could take that gas giant and mine it to, mine it like crazy until it's actually sucked into the event horizon. So with the $37 million stretch goal, which is now unlocked, I have to go back to the $36 million stretch goal to read that one. The Tenga system. At the heart of an unusual rectangular planetary nebula lies the Tenga system. The inner planets were engulfed as the star entered the red giant phase. The expanded habitable zone unfroze a small world on a former outer ring for several hundred million years, making it habitable. Life began to emerge and was just reaching a primitive state when the star collapsed into a white dwarf, throwing the planet back into a deep freeze, then blasting the atmosphere away with the resulting planetary nebula. That's how the system was found. Only 2 worlds. Speculation was that there could have been 3 or more. Both are dead planets with no atmosphere. Meaning that they're probably just going to be mining planets where you are going to, of course, mining planets need luxuries, they need food, they need water, they need things that make life more meaningful when you're not pretty much in a place where you have good things. Now, this is what just got unlocked for $38 million. And this one is forever. This is the water world. The Cano system is home to a G-type main sequence star that's almost identical to Earth's. Of 4 planets in the system, only 1 is habitable. Cartania. I think that's how you spell it. Of the 4 planets in the system, only 1 is inhabited, Cartania. Located on the edge of the habitable zone, Cartania is a classic water world. Fortunately, its planetary axis constantly keeps the northern hemisphere away from the sun, which allowed for the water to freeze into the land masses useful as initial landing zones in 2587. Multiple attempts have been made to try to convert the thick atmosphere into something breathable, but the process has never seemed to stick. In fact, over the years, every time there's been a new technological development in geoengineering, they tested here on Cartania to yield the same result. Almost 50 years ago, scientists discovered microscopic organisms in the very early phases of life in the depths of the oceans. This caused a massive uproar throughout the UEE at the prospect that they had been attempting to terraform a developing world. Cartania was immediately placed under the Fair Chance Act. Unfortunately, humans had been living there for almost 300 years, and the families that had been there for generations felt like they had earned rights as residents. After years of debate in political and scientific community, the population was allowed to stay, but only under certain conditions. Future terraforming attempts have been outlawed, and the human population has been consolidated into a single arcology to minimize their impact on their environment and the development of whatever species is growing in the deep. So we've got our planetary systems. We've got the water world, we've got the nebula, and we've got the black hole. What's up next? There's binary systems and ghost worlds, and there's other things that are still able to be voted on. I think there's probably 2 more passes of this before the voting is over. So go out there and vote for whatever you want next. Chris almost dropped, he also dropped this on us. So along with these, in the last 2 letters, he talked about how wonderful the community is, and he thanked us up and down and talked about how well we received the bad news about the dogfighting module being delayed. And then in the $36 million letter, he gave us this. This is the new windscreen, or front windshield for the Freelancer. It's kind of a, well, I think I've seen this by one of the modders, but it's kind of a compromise. It keeps the beams in there, though it reduces their appearance or their thickness, and gives you a much better view into the atmosphere, you know, into the world beyond your ship. I think that's going to be gorgeous, and I've been dying for a Freelancer, and I know I'm going to be getting one. Thank you, Captain. And I will, well, I'll be paying for one, but I have somebody helping me. But I think that the Freelancer is going to be one of these ships that's going to be everywhere, along with the Cutlass and, you know, the Constellation. But it's the one that when I first saw it, it made me think, wow, that's the ship I want to be flying in this universe. And you know I love my other ships, and when I walk around, I've got my favorites. I love my Connie, but I love the Avenger. And, you know, the Hornet is gorgeous, but I think the 325 and the 315 are gorgeous, and they're more my style. I like the opportunity to be able to bring other people with me, so I think I'm going to be in the Freelancer and the Constellation, and probably my Retaliator more than anything else. And most likely my single seat ship that I'll be in most often will be the Avenger. Those are just the ones I like so far. Okay? So we're talking about a lot of things here so far. So what have I missed? I missed my take on the dogfighting module. I watched that over and over and over again. And I watched people playing with mouse, people playing with keyboard, people playing with stick, and started to think, is that something that Chris is trying to show us by having people play against each other while on the live stream, so we can see that it really didn't matter what control people were using? I'm not sure that was done intentionally, but I took something away from that because I played Freelancer, watched my old video, there it is going right there. And in Freelancer, it was a mouse-based game. Yeah, it was a game on rails. It was kind of arcade. But I found flying that to be pretty easy, which led me back to a LucasArts game called, I think it was Battlefield 1942, or not Battlefield, Battlehawks 1942, where you flew Spitfires and, or maybe it was, yeah, no, you flew the Battle of Midway. You flew Wildcats with your mouse and remembered how it was like flying that. And then I looked at another game I've been playing lately, which is the Egosoft game X Rebirth, and that's flown with your mouse or with an Xbox controller. So he's got all these different controllers set up. Now the Xbox, you have 2 joysticks on it. One can be taking care of roll and pitch, and the other one could be taking care of yaw and another, you know, one of the other 6 degrees of freedom, because there are 6, right? There's 3 axes. There's up and down, there's across, and then there's spinning, right? So you would do that with a rudder pedal, stick, and throttle in your hands, but if you have the actual Xbox controller in your hand, I guess that's going to be easy for some people. So what I'm trying to say here is what I've noticed when I was watching that is that it really didn't matter which one of the controls people had. It seemed to be that all of them were doing as well as each other. The other thing I take away from the dogfighting module item as it's playing behind us is the extreme fidelity of the graphics. It's amazing how beautiful this game is so far, and this isn't even optimized or complete. These are still the original models of the Hornet flying around in there. Nothing newer, nothing, you know, with PBR on it. And I just am taken back with how well it looks so far. I'm also pretty happy that he postponed it, because we're supposed to be helping to push this game forward. You know, pretty much we bought in to alpha test and beta test this product, this new game. And our job is to find the bugs. And if something isn't working at all, it's going to be hard to find the bugs and tune it. We need them to provide us with something that's ready to be tuned. And you know, I'm very happy I didn't see Reddit posts and flaming posts in the forums about not being able to make that deadline, because I don't think it was a deadline. And if you listen to Chris over the previous couple of live streams, he was saying, if it's ready, when it's ready, when it's ready. He was trying not to give a date. Other people were, and he was saying, when it's ready. So this is January 6th of 2014. What is in store? The first thing I'm going to tell you is that definitely there will be one of my shows every week. So I will be doing a show a week, except for maybe 2. In March, I go away for business. I will be going to CIG when I'm out there in Santa Monica. I'm going to be in Huntington Beach. So I figure if I rent the car, it's probably an hour, hour and a half between those 2 places. And I think there's one other time during the year that I do a regional meeting with Apple that I might not be able to do it. So we're looking at possibly somewhere between 49 and 50 episodes this year. So I'm going to have to mix things up. There aren't that many ships to review, but there are systems to look at. There are other elements of the game to look at. And I'm going to be making sure that I keep a good mix of different things coming throughout the show. I am going to have a lot more interviews, and I'm going to reach out to some of you out in the gaming universe that are looking at being modders. I'm going to try to get a couple of the contestants on the next Great Starship Contest. And I'm going to be looking at other podcasters like Dr. Hawk and the guys from StarCast and Beacon 142 and see if we can do shows together and see if they want to do that. I figure anything we do together that's making the game move on is great. I'm also going to be watching every episode of The Whole Truth. I think that the Romantics, We Are the Romantics, I think that they do a wonderful job at both streaming and doing that show. I've been watching, while I was sick, I was watching some of his old streams, and when he got better, because evidently he was sick too, I started watching some of his new streams, and I think he's incredible. So that's where I think I'm going to take it this year. I've talked an awful lot today. I need to edit this, and what I want to tell you now is stay tuned for another Confession of Star Citizen Addict, and there won't be a hanger patch or a review today. Instead, click on the button up there like I told you to and watch last week's show. Thank you all. I'll talk to you real soon. Oh, by the way, Sandy Gardner will be my interview on the next show. Thank you all. Have a great week. And just keep watching until the end of this video. Bye.
Hello, my name is Klugan, and I am a Star Citizen addict, so here's my story. I had almost given up hope on PC gaming, because most games that came out over the last years looked good on paper, but in real life, they all lacked just a little something. After almost 3 months of not gaming at all, I joined TeamSpeak with my buddies from World of Tanks, and heard about a game made by Chris Roberts. I said, "What? I think I know this name!" So I looked it up on Wikipedia. Needless to say, when I discovered where I knew this name from, I instantly looked at the RSI site, registered, and my buddy linked me the pledge site. First reaction was, WTF! Those ships look awesome, especially the Freelancer. Fell to my eye, huge Firefly fan. Then I looked at the price tag. Oh my god, over €100? For a game that is almost 2 years away? No, no, no. Quickly closed the tab, but obviously it was too late. That Freelancer. I couldn't get it out of my head. I said to myself, sleep over it. Try to be reasonable. After I went kinda crazy on Lineage 2 and World of Tanks. Do you really want to spend that much money? I got to bed and had for the first time in months a really hard time falling asleep. That Freelancer just won't let me go. I woke up about 3 hours later and the first thing I thought of was that Freelancer. I had season's vacation, a Christmas bonus, and nothing else to do. So I turned on my PC and got myself a Freelancer package with physical goods. I was pointed at the hanger module by my TeamSpeak buddies, And right then, I was lost. 2 weeks are gone since that day, and here I am looking at my Aurora LX, 325A, Cutlass, and Connie. I got myself a 3-month Imperator Prime too. Still reading into this thread, at page 47 currently, but had to say hello even though I'm not finished yet. Sucking up all those great infos, currently on the waiting list for Super Hornet. I'm surely to hit High Admiral next month, but no regrets so far, as I'm investing in a dream I had almost given up on. See you in the verse, folks. P.S. Sorry for this wall of text.